So this is the docket for the courtroom we're about to go into. It's well over 100 cases, and this is just one docket for one courtroom, and there's 15 other courtrooms in this building. 80% of these people are going to be represented by public defenders. It's so crowded in here.
I just met with him at the jail on Friday, so I didn't have time to notice up a bond hearing for today.
Judge, hold on, I may have the wrong person here. Hold on, can we just reset? Okay, just for a second.
Judge, I'd like to reset for disposition. I just need some more time to talk with him.
It's immediately obvious how overworked the public defenders are.
I'm really busy, so that's why I'm resetting things.
They're running around trying to meet their clients a few minutes before they even enter the courtroom. And what's also interesting is how the prosecution barely moves at all. This client's actually in jail, so imagine waiting in jail and waiting for your lawyer to get together with the other lawyers to actually even just begin talking about the details of your case.
Your Honor, I apologize, we're not quite ready.
As public defenders fail to process their cases, judges like Calvin Holden are finding their courtrooms increasingly backlogged.
The system is slowly grinding to a halt. When they don't have enough attorneys and they don't have any staff really to help them, they can't process cases. And when a large segment of these cases every month have to be continued to the next month, and each time we do that means it delays it a little bit longer. And as more and more cases keep coming in the system, that lag time just gets longer. Our jail is more crowded now than it ever has been.
We saw this firsthand at Greene County's jail, where the majority of prisoners we met were waiting for their public defenders, sometimes for months.
Are you all being represented by public defenders?
Yes.
Yeah. Have any of you met with your public defenders yet?
I go to court tomorrow.
Okay. And you still haven't met your public defenders? You've been here 3 months?
Yeah.
And you haven't met your public defender yet?
Not once.
We've talked to you more than we've talked to our lawyers in a year.
Really?
Yes.
Really?
Absolutely. Yes.
The public defender's office is not even 2 minutes from here.
Yeah.
But we can't get them over here to communicate with them.
Yeah.
Because they're in court all day to the point that they can't even spend the time with the clients.
There's been a handful of times that I went to court and the public defender not even show up at all.
Yeah.
And then, if that happens, then they'll shoot off your court date 1-2 months down the road.
My court dates are, one's been 4 months apart, 3 months apart, 5 months apart.
How long have you been here in jail?
14 months.
14 months.
Yep.
The prisoners who can't afford a lawyer usually can't afford bail either. And as they wait indefinitely for their trials, the jailhouse is filling up.
This unit was built to house 42, and there's 67 in here today. So obviously we have to load up some of the cells with more than 2 people. Mm-hmm. And we have what we call boats, mm-hmm. and they're just basically plastic type mattresses, and somebody has to sleep on the floor.
There's 4 people in my 2-man cell. There's 2 of us on the floor.
2 of you are in the boats? We saw one on the boats.
No, we're on the floor. There's too many. We can't fit any boats in there.
Oh, wow. They don't even have the boats that we saw because the boats wouldn't fit in here.
It's definitely not the Hilton, that's for sure.
In addition to what we have here, we also got 115 inmates housed in other counties outside the facility because we don't have the beds for them. The county will pay $1 million, probably slightly over $1 million this year in out-of-county housing costs.
You could probably get a lot of public defenders with $1 million.
Probably so.
80% of all criminal defendants need public defenders. Despite this, of the $265 billion we spend each year on our criminal justice system, we spend less than 2% of that on public defense. This leaves court-appointed lawyers like Brian Delville completely overwhelmed by their caseloads.
Good morning, Your Honor. Mr. McManus is here in custody behind me.
There's 25 cases that Brian's hearing.
Can I get just a little bit more time?
I mean, you can see the stacks on Brian's desk right now, all the blue folders.
She takes care of her mom. She also works, I believe it's 2 jobs, so she's trying to save the money so that she can get her license back. So if we could get November.
November 2nd.
And then we'll also set the case for a trial.
Brian's not been here for like an hour, right? And this is, I think, the 10th client we've seen him with.
Yeah, you're good to go.
It's crazy how quickly he moves through these people.
Marcus Page. How you doing? Where you going? You want to step outside?
think he's meeting with some of them for the first time. And I think the craziest thing is that every client thinks that their case is the most important one in the world to him, and he has to treat it that way.
Which can be challenging, especially with clients who have mental health issues.
He was indicating to me that he believed he was able to proceed.
Mentally competent.
Yeah. And I said, I just need a doctor to come in and evaluate you and make sure, because you're facing up to 7 years in prison, that we're all on board here and that we're good to go.
You just need to do your due diligence.
Right. Okay. I'm going to be seeking a mental health court screening for him. I think at this point I have some concerns as to proceeding. So if I could just maybe get a reappearance next week.
Okay, let's do that.
I did not tell my lawyer to tell you that, ma'am.
So I'm trying to get a doctor in there as soon as possible.
And what if a doctor says he's not good to proceed?
Well, we can't proceed.
I raised you 2 months ago, everybody. It's large shit that son of a bitch fucking bald-headed faggot, lawyer. I did not tell that son of a bitch that I did not want to proceed. Fuck you, fuck you, fuck you!
So you went through 25 clients in about 2 hours. Is that enough time, really?
No. And in a perfect world, it would be best if, I had enough time to meet with each of them well in advance of this hearing rather than those who are out of custody. A lot of times this is their appointment. Unfortunately, you almost have to pick and choose some of the cases that you spend the most amount of time on. I'd love to be able to do that on every single case.
Yeah.
I mean, I don't want to be somebody that's just standing next to somebody.
What makes this so hard to accomplish is that while Missouri's crime rate is amongst the highest in the country, it actually ranks 49th out of 50 states in terms of per capita funding for public defenders.
This is my penthouse office here. It's huge. Most of these files on my desk are from last Tuesday and Wednesday that I still have to process through.
So this is basically, we're looking at your caseload here a little bit.
Yeah, plus that, and that, and those, and in here.
Do you even know how many it is right now?
I think it's about 200 or so.
Making matters worse, the public defenders in this office make an average $12,000 less than the prosecutors in the same county, despite having to handle record caseloads.
Well, let's go ahead and get started. First of all, I wanted to let you guys know about some developments we've had in Greene County as far as our caseload issues. I had mentioned to Judge Holden about kind of where our numbers were at, and everybody was somewhere between 400 to 600% of capacity. So that's where we're at with that. Also mentioned that today is Dan's last day, but it is Patty's first day. So welcome, Patty.
Come Monday, assuming nobody quits between now and then, it'll be the first time in 2016 we'll be fully staffed. So everybody keep your fingers crossed on that one. So.
Daniel Coulter went to law school specifically to become a public defender, but after only 3 years, he's leaving to go into private practice.
Did you ever envision that this day would come, or were you confident that you were going to be a public defender your entire career?
I didn't have any plans after the public defender's office.
Yeah.
When I left law school, or when I started this job.
And now you're leaving after 3 years.
Yeah, it's a little bit defeating in a way. Like I said, I wanted to be a PD.
Yeah.
And then it didn't turn out to be everything I'd hoped.
So if you had the caseload that you have now, but you made more money, would that have kept you around?
Possibly.
And if you made the amount of money that you make right now, but had fewer cases?
That would help as well.
Yeah?
Yeah.
As we focus more and more on criminal justice, from policing to overcrowding in prisons, the constitutional right to an adequate defense is often overlooked. Ezekiel Edwards is the director of the ACLU's Criminal Law Reform Project. He broke down why the proper funding of public defense is so important.
What are some of the real consequences that we're facing because of the fact that public defense is in shambles, as you say?
We know that if you had lawyers at your first appearance, if you had lawyers at your bail hearings who were well-funded and well-resourced, we would have far fewer people detained pre-trial. Without a meaningful indigent defense system, you have what we have today, which is over 2 million people incarcerated and the highest incarceration rate in the world.
Expenditure on indigent defense in the United States is a very small fraction of our criminal justice spending as a whole. Why is there such a discrepancy here?
Well, the lack of indigent defense funding is a major problem. States don't give more than 2% of their budgets nationwide to indigent defense funding. And this results in what we have today, which is a crisis where we don't have lawyers in many courtrooms, or the lawyers that are in those courtrooms are swimming under way too many cases and are unable to provide effective representation.
Is there any indigent defense office that's doing it right in your eyes?
There are places like the Bronx Defenders.
The Bronx Defenders serves the South Bronx, the country's poorest congressional district. The office combines government money with their own fundraising, which allows them to hire specialized lawyers who work together in teams to provide their clients with the best possible defense.
So I want to introduce you to Kevin Farley. He's a housing attorney and civil attorney who works with me in my office on my team.
A call to confirm with you.
When a client first meets their attorney, they may not know immediately that actually what they're getting is not just an attorney, they're getting an entire team. And that team will have embedded in it immigration attorneys, housing attorneys, family court attorneys, social workers, community organizers, investigators, an entire interdisciplinary approach to the criminal arrest.
And you contact police. In addition to everything else, I would like you to meet your new lawyer. We try all of our cases with 2 lawyers. All of them, the 3 of us.
You're gonna stay with me?
Absolutely, I'll be the lead lawyer on your case, always. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay, thank you.
It's funny that what we're seeing here is almost exactly the opposite of what we saw in Missouri, whereas that was one public defender surrounded by like 6 different clients. This is one client surrounded by 3 different public defenders on this case.
All right, thank you very much. All right, take care.
The argument for programs like the Bronx Defenders is that investing in quality public defense ends up saving money in the long run.
If you want to look at it from the dollars and cents point of view, addressing all the issues that clients are facing in the criminal justice system ultimately will save taxpayers and governments enormous amounts of money. You'll see it in pretrial detention reduction. You'll see it in the reduction of jail time. You'll see it in the reduction of prison time. So it's very short-sighted to think that if we don't get involved at the beginning, that somehow that's going to wind up saving taxpayer dollars. It's going to wind up costing everybody more money. But at the end of the day, there is value in being that person that stands next to the individual and fights every single day in every way you can to prevent the system from running them over.